We have a code now, which I've shared with you, a
Yes.
set of principles and commentary, which is in the process of being updated. And I shared with you the ways that I thought we could tune it up. I'll also share it with other people who you must know, other lawyers who are involved in this area. Another thing came up, which is something that Accenture has done. This notion of, I've seen you, notion of behavioral law. There's also little done on it, but it's a term of art, behavioral ethics. So what does that mean, behavioral ethics? One of the things that we're looking at doing is taking IAE codes, the scripts to the certifications, the FTC enforcement guidelines, and then turning those into a agent that people could ask on the spot. So that there are two like forward-looking projects. One is to create as Accenture did, they took their codes, but then they allowed people to ask the code questions.
Love that.
The code comes to life. Point of practice.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting thing. The other thing I've read about, early studies by a couple in Connecticut of computational ethics, the inputting of many, many cases to start to get a consensus. Because if ethics are around norms, then you can start to gain consensus from that. And the final thing is an ad incident database, where, like when there's a software code problem, people report, we're seeing this, they distribute it to the developers around the world, they make patches, and they share amongst each other. Here in the United States right now, unlike the ASA in England, there's no real way for consumers to complain in a way that anything's done about it or that they're aware. The FTC does have that ability, but not really many people do it. It's sourced largely from law enforcement. The BBBNP is companies talking about companies. So the ability for people to start to label ads that are bad in one way or another, which could be in terms of how it's manipulating them, and then over time, those reports start to inform the code. The code probably has to have many, many examples, ideally, so you could compare, you could know what principle you were on, but you'd have like a carousel of examples that you could compare to build your confidence.
This is great. So one idea is to work with AI to specify with examples what a code requires and have the AI platform or whatever give answers to questions about what's manipulation and what
Yeah.
isn't, and to have human engagement, so this to make sure that the AI is on the right track and sensibly interpreting the principles. So that's, I think, a very productive approach, partly because in areas that I know, it's often a lot easier to get principles than to get clarity about individual cases.
Oh, yeah.
And AI can help a ton with that. With consumer engagement, the idea of having the private sector make that available has significant advantages over the government, and for the private sector to be aware that consumers, as the private sector typically is, that consumers may be exercised because something wrong has been done, or they may be exercised because they're in a bad mood or because they don't have as much money as they want, and those are different. So this is just a way of saying that any consumer database of consumer complaints, of course, should be cognizant of the fact that the number of cases in which consumers complain is higher than the number of cases in which consumers have been unfairly treated.
Oh, yes. Yeah. When you turn on the lights in the kitchen, it's never just one cockroach.
Yeah, completely. There's so many cockroaches. And it may be there are no cockroaches, but people are feeling grumpy.